Welcome back to another Fantastic Congress video. Today we're going to be looking at other powers of Congress that don't have anything to do with actually making laws, which of course is their main purpose. So let's get started. First, we're going to be looking at congressional investigations. And a congressional investigation, you do need to add this to your notes somewhere, is a way for Congress to check up on other branches, specifically the executive branch. Okay, congressional investigations are a way for Congress to check up on other branches, specifically the executive branch. And the whole goal of a congressional investigation is to make sure that these other branches are following the law, they're following what the Constitution allows them to do. Okay, so congressional investigations can actually be led by two different types of committees. Okay, the first type of committee is called a standing committee. And a standing committee doesn't mean they stand up the whole time. It just means that this is a committee that always is going to exist in Congress. Okay, so we're always going to have a standing committee on Ways and Means. We're always going to have a standing committee on the Armed Services. Okay, always going to have those things. They can also be led by select committees. And select committees are committees that are formed in response to a certain issue or a certain event. Okay, so after September 11th, we had a special committee, a select committee that was created to investigate all of the different aspects of that terrorist attack. Okay, so both of those committees can actually run congressional investigations on other branches. Okay, moving on then to some characteristics of congressional investigations. They kind of sound almost like a trial. Okay, so they can include a subpoena, and yes, that is how you spell subpoena. I know that's not how it looks, but a subpoena is a legal order to either appear in court or to produce documents for court. Okay, so even though these investigations aren't hearings or they're not trials, I guess they would be hearings, but they're not trials, they still have that characteristic of having the ability to subpoena. Okay, they also can punish people for perjury, and perjury is lying under oath. Okay, so when we talked about the Constitution, when we talked about the Fifth Amendment, we said that if you say, I plead the fifth, if you are asked a question under oath, you're not going to get in trouble if you don't answer the question, but you would if you lied under oath. Lying under oath is perjury, and you can get in a lot of trouble for that. Okay? Contempt. Contempt is a willful obstruction of a process. Okay? So if I'm on trial and I start, they ask me a question and I start doing jumping jacks and running around on the tables and stuff like that, that would be contempt, right? That I'm willfully obstructing the process. So even though a congressional investigation isn't a trial, people who do crazy stuff like that can still be held in contempt, meaning that they've willfully obstructed the process and they can still get in trouble for it. Okay, so then what is legislative oversight? Legislative oversight is a continuous review of the effectiveness of the executive branch. So one thing that we'll learn whenever we get into our executive branch unit next chapter is that there are tons and tons of different federal programs that the executive branch is responsible for making sure work the way that they're supposed to work. Okay, so the legislative oversight is a way for Congress to check and make sure that all of those federal programs are being run properly, that the money that's been set aside for those programs is being spent the way it's supposed to be spent. Just really making sure that everything is being done the way it's supposed to be done. Okay. And with that, I will stop. If you have any questions,